What's happening? Yeah, it's about that time, man. We on episode number 29, man. Can you believe it? Of season, what are we in? 5? Man, it's starting not to become like a obligation or anything, man. This is therapy for me though, man. I mean, you'd be shocked at how much therapy I actually get out of this. So man, just making sure my mic is right and that y'all hearing me nice and clear. Let me just check my settings. Yeah, we clear. So yeah, man. University of Adversity. That's what we're talking about today, and it's saying it's starting live now. So we'll do our intro again live from the city of Los Angeles. This is your boy Dwayne Cofield. This is Drug Dealers to Businessmen podcast. This is the weekly tap in, and I am tapping in. It is November 12th, 2024. God is good all the time, man. It is a great day to be great and to expect great things to happen to you. So hopefully you are having some great expectations and that even in what appears to be disappointment, you find a lot of light, right? Because that's kind of what we're talking about today is how adversity is actually healthy for you. It's I mean, you sit there and wonder half the time, like, man, God, why me? Like, why do I have to go through something like this? And you'd be shockingly surprised to realize that in order for you to really accomplish much in life, it starts with adversity, right? Now, I usually always use the example of the gym, right? The gym is probably it's the hardest proving grounds, right? Because when you go to the gym, right, first thing you do is you're humbled. You can't lift, you're trash, right? Even if you came up like in the Pop Warner and you know how to do push-ups and all that, weights are a whole different thing. And you go in and you're humbled, right? You got to start from the bottom. You're puny. You don't matter much, right? Your size isn't what you want it to be. So you got to go in there and face adverse circumstances, embarrassment, and amongst other things in order to even get started. So the gym is usually, I would say, my best example of looking at adversity for gains, right? It's hard to really fathom that, man. It's really hard to fathom that. So I'm not gonna jump immediately into it, man. I want to give a shout out to you guys who spent some time with me listening, those who are tapping in. Make sure you put it in the chat. This your first time, hit the subscription button. We can't survive without subscribe. So make sure that you pass this on to somebody, even if it isn't your thing, man. I understand. And even if it isn't your thing right now, I understand. Maybe in a few years, maybe in a few months, maybe in a few days, this may be applicable. Not always at the right time. I'm gonna tell you that right now. So a lot of times when information comes, it usually doesn't come at the right time. It's usually at a time where I don't really need it. Like tools, right? I don't need this tool. Why is God giving it to me? He sees your future. So he's giving you a lot of tools. And I'm not saying I'm the tool. I'm just talking about what I'm experiencing right now and just how and what I'm learning through this whole university of adversity because it is a learning lesson. And sometimes learning lessons are really, really, really expensive. And that's the thing that we have to sometimes absorb. It's like, okay, so what am I really getting out of this? Why am I going through this? What am I experiencing? Why is it happening to me right now? And we have to look at and the more I'm connecting with myself, of course, I'm looking at other people's stories. So I revisited and I'm actually giving you guys a cheat because I usually wait for the book suggestion at the end of the episode, but this time I'm going to actually tell you guys what I've been reading initially. It's called um damn, I'm drawing a blank like a mug. It is called The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. And what made me read that is I was actually listening to Tavis Smiley on KBLA in LA. And you could actually listen to it streaming too. He's got some really dope guests. So I'm gonna tell you like this, man. If you listen to Tavis or listen to any smart people, you're gonna get something no matter what, right? No matter what the situation is, you should be able to pull something away. And there was a guy named I forget his name. Oh my God. And I like him too. And I can't remember his name, but he talked about, he said the obstacle's the way. And I was like, what? It's like, I've seen that book before. And lo and behold, I had purchased it a long time ago and got into it, but didn't remember anything. I don't know if I was going through a season at that time or whatever the case may be, but I don't remember the book. And I'm like, damn, I remember that book, but I remember that title. I remember the author, and I remember I did buy it at some point in time. Did I return it? I didn't know. So immediately, as soon as I heard it, I'm like, man, God talking to me because when you get these little subtle, suggestive, jewels like this, you got to take advantage of them right then and there because, again, you'll eat something. The enemy says, "Oh, God just dropped game to you. Let me go ahead and infiltrate." Right. And he'll send some BS your way just to take you off the fact from that book because there may be ingredients, chapters, jewels inside there that may actually change your life. So he doesn't want you to get to that, right? So that's what I was experiencing at that time. I'm like, man, damn, why is it? And he had dropped that jewel, hey man, the obstacles away. And I'm like, oh, there's a book for that. Looked in my library, look for first I did the audible search and it was like it's in your library. I said, oh, here we go. And God, that was God's way of reminding me, right? Hey, here's what you need. Here's what you need right now because I know where you're at. You're at a stage right now where you look like you can't win. You cannot produce a W to save your life. There's been delays after delays on your construction. Things are getting harder and harder. You're trying to figure stuff out. People are abandoning. It's all kind of things going on. You're trying to figure, like, man, what the heck? Did I do something to somebody? Like, man, it's just my bad luck. What is it? Right? Everything is hard. I mean, every damn thing. Right. And you just sitting there saying to yourself, like, man, what in the world did I do? Am I cursed? And it's not that. You look at other people and you say, why it was so easy for them? And then you have to ask yourself, do you want it easy? What do you learn when it's easy? What do you learn when you actually win? You think about that. What do I learn? What do I gain when I actually get the W? And I look at my son's basketball coach, and he's more inclined to be like the loss is more impressive if you tried hard. If you guys played up or played at a different level, and I saw you guys out there busting your butts, he'll respect that more, right? So adversity, everybody respects adversity until you're going through it for the most part. When you're going through it, it sucks. You're like, why is everything falling in? Nothing's coming through. Random bad luck. We had our car towed. We had to randomly come up with $500 just out of nowhere at the worst time. I promise you. And I don't know how we got it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like that. And I'm not just saying we like hella broken. It's just our money is so tied up into stuff. It's like we don't. You know what I mean? Those little things just randomly those hurt. Hey man, you know what I'm saying? But that's the thing. You try to learn. You thinking, hey man, people, oh man, you gotta, yeah, bro, it's like that. We got over 50 some grand tied up into a restaurant and equipment, and it's just sitting, right? So I'm saying to myself, why is this so freaking hard? It seemed like everybody else's is easy. And then my wife has to check me and says, do you know what their story is? And I'm like, nah. So this brings me to kind of the whole baseline of what we're talking about today, right? So in my other job, I teach at a university, right? So I'm a lecturer, adjunct, whatever you want to call it. I teach classes at a university. I teach business, marketing, social media, all these different things at a few different colleges in LA. And one of the things I'm familiar with is that process, right? And one of the things that is I tell students oftentimes is that, you're not really recruited for the type of degree. Now that's I'm saying that kind of loosely. Now there are certain degrees, technical degrees, they do require you to have that 4 year, but really what companies want you to know, they'll teach you. And what they're really gauging with your degree is that you can stick with something for 4 years, something that's difficult, something that's new, something that's foreign, something that you've never done before, right? Classes, no support, no mama and dad sitting there over your shoulder going to bang on the principal, right? It's you and your professor, and you might get a few assholes that are professors. Fortunately, I'm not one of them, right? But you might get a few that are jerks, that are buttholes, that are going to make your life extraordinarily difficult, right? And this is all a test to see if you can last. And if you can last the test of time, right? If you can make it, then you're rewarded with a degree that puts you in a different category than every other common person in society for the most part, right? So I say all that to say when you're going through adversity, it is a university, right? And when the same kind of thing happens when you're going through adversity. So the main thing is where you want to go to school at, right? Because you can pick your poison. I told you guys I'm trying to do two difficult things, either a PhD or open a restaurant. W- hard or really hard, right? So which one do you want? What type of degree do you want? Do you want a basic, whatever, kind of a I don't know really what I want type of degree, or do you want something specific? Do you going after computer science? You going after this particular class? What do you what is your cup of tea? What type of goal and dream are you thirsting after? Are you desiring at this point? Mine are difficult, so that's going to require a different type of college that's really, really difficult to get into. So admissions are extraordinarily difficult to get into, right? You trying to get into the restaurant business, you know how hard it is to get in there? And matter of fact, there's no checklist. The checklists vary from time to time, right? People say this, people say that. It's just like you going to Harvard, and Harvard saying, you know what? In the restaurant game, I'm going to compare it to Harvard. Harvard's like, yeah, man, all right, our tuition's 80 grand. And when you get there, you're like, okay, cool. I figured out my 80 grand. They're like, yeah, but man, we're going to delay your application another 6 months and it's going to be another 50 grand. You're like, wait a minute, man. I just did everything I did to get that 80 grand to get in. You guys told me I was in. Yeah, man, but we're going to switch it up on you. I'm like, well, so this is that type of college, right? This is that type of university. There's no entrance, there's no GMAT, there's no none of that. There's you risking your money, skin in the game. So I got that going on right now. Plus, I'm over here trying to get on study. Shout out to Dr. Beer and the rest of our team who giving me an opportunity to get my name on studies and participate and learn that process to help me actually apply to a graduate program. Kudos to them. I can't express my love. But then I even asked Chat was a cloud, like, what's the best way to go? And they gave me a rundown, like, hey man, one's gonna take 7 years, you're gonna be broke for 7 years, you're gonna make 40 grand, but you'll make 100, 200 for the rest of your life, right? This other route, it's gonna be hella risky. You're gonna have to put up a lot of capital. It's capital intensive. The risks are super high. The reward is insane though, if you do make it. So I'm like, they put out Raising Cane's guys worth 6 billion. The other guy, the Salty Deli, Mike's or no, is it Mike's Deli? Not Mike's Deli. That's the one on Slauson. Oh my God, Jersey Mike's. Jersey Mike's worth like a couple billion too, and there's one dude. So when you look at those risks versus what do you do? What school would you pick? I can either go to Stanford or I go to USC. Which one? Because both of them are sexy, right? One of them's gonna, you know what I mean? When you start looking at that, and then you gotta look at, okay, so what's the sacrifice that I have to put out? Right? What am I gonna have to sacrifice? Am I gonna have to move? Like a lot of PhD programs want you to move to the state. You gotta go to Kansas, you gotta go to Chicago for 4 years. Nah, I'm not willing to do that right now. Not uproot my family. My kids got roots, they have sports, and I'm just not willing to do that. I'm not willing, so I'll do that later if I still have that desire to do it at that time. You know what I'm saying? I'm not shelving it. I'm just postponing it for a couple of years while I get this thing going. And that's just a decision that I had to make. But it's not saying one's easier than the other, and it's not saying that I'm not still going to pursue academic publications because I still need to get that acumen up just so I know what I'm doing, right? at the same time. So I could still attend conferences, get on publications, have a goal in mind in terms of how many I wanting to do, figure out how I can do solo publications, et cetera, et cetera. These are all to school. So, and one thing I'm learning is not to get away from the book title, The Obstacles the Way by Ryan Holiday. It talks about obstacles. It talks about embracing obstacles, right? We took a loss on the restaurant. Contractor did some crazy stuff and made us lose like 30 grand. You know what I mean? So when we look at those type of situations, one of the things that pointed out in that book, it immediately said, in business, you may take a loss. And it was saying, is is that unexpected? And you're like, nah, that's actually expected in business. There's a high probability that you're gonna lose money. So it's basically saying, so why are you tripping? Why are you upset? Why are you letting it throw you off like that? And I had to check myself like, man, like this is the end. Is it the end of the world? No. Can you recover? Yes. And it just allows you to slow down and put things in perspective, because sometimes you can get so caught up and be so myopic and not be aware that, hey man, this is normal. These the stats say this, right? This is actually part of the course. And you don't realize that. You don't really realize that when you're in the moment, right? So you got to leads me to my next point. You have to have the right counselors, right? There's nothing worse than going to a university and you get the wrong counselor, because they will have you railroaded. And what I mean by that is they'll have you taking unnecessary classes, unnecessary steps, right? Have you going completely in the wrong direction. You may have to do a U-turn and come back to actually what you originally wanted to do. So sometimes having the wrong counselor is worse than having no counselor. And if you get to the point to where you have no counselor and you're out here in this world of life and danger and risk and all these things that will scare the living daylights out of the average person, you can go to podcasts, you can go to videos, you can go to YouTube. I don't have a lot of people to talk to, but I got one homeboy who be checking on me constantly. I got actually a few of them that check on me constantly. Hey, what's happening? What's up with the restaurant? Da, 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 da. You know what I'm saying? Just tapping in, checking my temperature, right? But if I don't have them to bounce off of, which and then there's certain questions that you may have that are more industry related, so you don't have anybody to resort to for the most part. Even though I do, but sometimes you're gonna have to go to books, right, to take you over. Like the part that I'm dealing with is just the angst and also the impatience. Having patience when you don't know how long something is supposed to take. Now, if you talk to me in 5 years, be like, man, I remember our first restaurant. This is the mistakes we made. This is why it took so long. Second restaurant, we had it up and running in 3 months, right? Or had it up and running in 2 months, right? So you'll do it completely different. It's your first time. Take it easy on yourself. You're supposed to make mistakes. It's not going to be perfect. And I have to constantly have this pep talk with myself, because everything around you is telling you otherwise. It's taking you too long. People reminding you of stuff. Hey man, why you ain't working? Hey, why you ain't? Why? Right? You like, man, I'm in school right now. I'm in the University of Adversity, man. I'm in my second year, dog. I'm a sophomore. So yeah, I'm not even I'm not even a respected classman at this stage. You dig what I'm saying? So I'm at a point to where I don't know. You know what I mean? When people asking, and these are people that are constantly asking you, have never built anything, right? They haven't built a restaurant. And that's no disrespect. That's just they don't have any idea on what it costs, and that these delays are perfectly part of the game. Right. I watched a few restaurant tours, and that's the first thing that comes out their mouth, man. We 6 months off and two, $300, 100,000 over. You're like, my God, we're not that much over, but sheesh. And they very well could be in that position, right? And this is part of the game. Some courses are going to be expensive. Some courses are going to be very expensive. Some courses, like our course, cost us 30 grand. So be it. It's just, it is what it is. Right. So you got to realize you're going to take some lumps when you're going through this University of Adversity. You're going to take them. It's part of the game. What do you do? If you don't have any homeboys and homegirls, the right counselors, and keep in mind, the wrong ones, shut that down. Don't run it by them, especially the naysayers or the non-experienced. If you haven't had this experience, man, please let me know that you're well read about it. Because if you're not well read about it, man, I'm not really trying to hear it. Give me stats. Don't give me the wrong stats. I can deal with the right ones, right? Give me optimism. Who's doing what? Who went through this same thing, so that I know I'm not alone. That's what I need. And that's what that book helped me realize. Like, man, you're not alone. This is perfectly normal. This is part of what you're supposed to do. This is part of, this is your coming out, not coming out, but what is that called? Uh I can't even think of the word, but it's like when you becoming a man. Drawing a blank. Anyways, that's what it feels like. You got to go through certain parts, right? Rite of passage. There's what I'm looking for. It's a rite of passage. You gotta go through it. So as you going through it, right, and you get past your counselors, now you got to pick the right courses. because there's going to be a low where you're not going to really have much to do, right? In terms of your dream, you think that you're not making any headway, you're far enough, but you're not close enough, right? So you have to figure out what I need to do in between. And this is where you start the skill development. What can I do in between? How can I get sharper where it may or may not immediately benefit me? I mean, the dream. Because sometimes some of the things that you do in between aren't necessarily directly affecting your dream, but they can have an impact on it, perhaps, right? So if you learn social media, you learn graphic, you learn video while you're waiting, these are things that can help you. You can do your own videos, you can do your own social media, you can do your own pictures, right? I'm learning a lot more with AI, facial recognition. There's software for that, and teaching my son about it. He's like, "Oh, teachable?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Okay." So just teaching them about things like that. So you can pick that up, right? Excel, learning Excel like crazy. How? Why? So I can learn how to categorize, pivot tables, so that I can have things. If I have them listed a certain way, I can make a pivot table out of them and automatically categorize them, add them up, do averages, see what my leading sale products are. These are all things that I'm learning in between, right? That may not seem relevant now, but they can certainly serve me later, right? Makes sense. So, what else can I learn in between that time? There's artificial intelligence. You can learn accounting software. You can learn Excel. Excel is a robust program. I cannot stress it enough. Learn that. There's art. Some of these things may be leaning more towards academia, but that's the space that I'm in right now. You need to figure out what's out there for you. YouTube University is a fantastic tool. I use it for motivation for restaurants to see how people are building. How did you start? What was ugly? What was normal? What's par for the course? What can I expect? Right? Good and bad. If I do it right, this is the good you can expect. This is the ugly part, right? When I saw Honey Kettle, shout out to Honey Kettle owner, when he's talked about that his first establishment burned down. Oh God, burned down, yes. Somebody else had a food truck that burned down. Oh, Mr. Fry Guy, his food truck burned up, right? And so everybody's had some shit type luck from the beginning. You know what I mean? I think it's perseverance. I think it's attitude. I think it's resourcefulness, right? This is the things and the skills that you develop while you going through adversity. It's not, man, I'm learning how to be shady or shifty. You're learning how to deal with it. You're learning how to be frugal. You learning how to stay on the course, keep your eye on the prize, look for signs and signals like the one I got for obstacles the way. God to drop hints and jewels to you. He's not going to leave you out of it. That's unbelievable. But this is the thing, right? You got to all the way go through, right? And the $1,000,000 question is, when does it end? When do I get my degree? And when am I finished? As far as we're concerned, that's up to you. That's totally up to you. If you feel like it's at a point to where you don't have any other ambitions, then you done. No more to learn, right? But there's always room to learn. Every stage of life, there's growth opportunities. So when you're done with this, you might want to go get another degree. I may want to go do something else in my life. I did the sales, I did the ownership, I did the travel, the tourism. LA, that was fun. Let me go get another degree. And then you get to the point to where, like, I think a lot of times they miss out on these statistics. Like, they don't, like in LA, or I think it was in LA, they were saying that the average, you don't become a homeowner in LA until you're around 50 years old. So think about that. Think about how much seasoning you have to get to that point, right? Think about that. And the average millionaire, I think, is about 50 something as well. So it's what it is you have to get to a point to where your experience supersedes everything. Like, you have so much experience in so many different arenas and areas that it just, when you culminate it and put it together, then it's it's like, it's hard to describe, like, the experience and the the coolness and the even keel that you develop as you get older. You Nothing phases you. And that's really what takes you to the next level, right? Is that nothing really throws you off. You're like, okay. And that's what that book talks about. It's a fantastic book. I'm listening to it for a second time in a matter of a couple days. Amazing book. Really, really good. Really perfect for what I'm going through right now. I'm experiencing, man, but at the same time, right? This is the thing, right? This is the real big deal. And this is a shout out to Jay Prince, right? The book of answered prayers, right? Everything that I've asked for, God has given me. So even this adversity, even through this adversity, I remember other adversities that I was going through, and I didn't think God was going to come through. I swear that I was like, he- man, double up, like watch this type stuff, right? And you like, what, man? I promise you, watch this type stuff. So when you know you're going through it, yeah, it sucks. It's like going through a boot camp or whatever the case may be. Like, man, come on, another door closing. Come on, man, another. Come on, man, not a. Come on, to the point to where you like, man, you know what? Let me just flip this into faith. I know this is part of my chapter 19, right before the victory chapter, right? This is that chapter that you're writing right now in your life. So if it's hard as you know what, if it's damn near impossible and seems like it's I can't reach that. I'm at that bridge and I still got 100 feet to go to land, and there's no bottom, and there's no water, there's no way to get around it. I'm just standing there. You don't know what's gonna happen. You don't know if something's gonna come and grab you and lift you. You don't know if you're gonna be able to have the to lift, the jump, and fly. You don't know if a crazy wind will come and pick you up and just gust you over to the other side. You have no idea what God can provide for you. So the only thing you can do in the meantime is believe that it's going to happen. Know what's going to happen. Know that you still have to get over there, right? And the thing that just separates you is adversity, right? So go through it, homie. Go through it, right? Get it over with. It's part of the ritual. It's part of the game. It's a rite of passage. It's what you have to do in order to get to your dream and victory. There's no way around it. Some people try to shortcut it and say you don't need to go through the University of Adversity. Oh yeah, you do. You have to go and you have to finish. You have to graduate. So you got to go through each stage and step. And some people's stages and steps are different than others. Mine is uniquely mine. My road, no one else knows. No one else has walked it before, so no one else can give me really advice on it. You can give me advice on situations, but in terms of overall my life, really difficult. I got to go with the guidance of God because that's the only one that has the idea and knows which way I'm going. People can try to predict it. There were people that predicted that I'd be a failure. Man, you're gonna go. They may have been right, but they don't know what the aftermath of that was. I may have to go through that experience to become what I am. Sometimes you got to go through the fire in order to purify yourself, in order to get them things off of you, right? Some things are better after they're charred, aren't they? And sometimes that may be you. Definitely me. So I'm cool with that, right? Bring it on. Keep it coming. I'm 100% okay with it. The thing that saves me, keeps me going, are the tools that I created. So I've created my counselors. So I go to them when I need to. I got podcasts. I got my journal that I write in every morning, and I predict how my day is going to go, and it does exactly that. No difference, no off, no nothing. So I encourage you guys. I really encourage you all. Please, please apply for it. Look for it. Figure out what school you want to go to because the University of Adversity is accepting applications. Yes, it is. You just have to dream big. And if you want to dream big, it's going to be a little competitive getting in, but they'll let you in. Just be leery of the counselors that you select. Be leery of the classes that you select based on what the counselors advise, right? And understand that sometimes you're going to have to go with your own gut and take the classes that you see as being important, not what somebody else sees, because no one else has that vision for your future besides you. You got a clear vision for it. I don't care if you're talking to a considered clairvoyant or somebody who can astrologist or whatever, right? Not worried about that. You can see your future. You got to get a clear vision of it. And even if it's not that clear, get a clear vision of what you want your day to be like tomorrow. Start with the basics, man. You know, may not need to keep going. Start with tomorrow. Right. So to conclude, let me go ahead and show you guys. I'll bring some more tools. next time. But yeah, man, this book is unbelievable, man. I mean, when I say unbelievable, it is that. And I've given you guys some books in the past. Oh, but this one I must say is pretty darn good. All right. I got a credit too. I had to return the book. Oh, it was okay. So yeah, let me tell you about that book. It was called Don't Think Don't something about thinking. It was whatever. Let me show you. Hmm. Can you guys see this? Yeah, all right. Mind over matter's pretty good too. Where are you? There we go. Obstacles away. I'm sorry to tell you, trials and the triumphs. Fantastic. Worth every bit of it. Listening to again, it's not too long, but it's enough power packed in there to get you going if you're dealing with a bunch of you know what. All right, so get your day popping, man. Get your week going, man. Start it off strong, no matter what the circumstances look like, even if they look insurmountable at the current time. Doesn't matter, right? Doesn't matter what it looks like right now. Maybe fourth and 34, but you don't know what kind of bomb you're gonna throw. You don't know what's gonna happen. You don't know what kind of mistake the enemy's gonna make, and you're gonna capitalize. So make sure that you understand what stage you're at. If you're ready to apply, please do, man. Pursue that dream. Stop playing. Right? If you don't have the right counselors, tap into YouTube, tap into podcasts, do that. Make sure you take the right classes. And there's no timeline on it, man. Take as much time as you want. Please do. But make sure you finish. That'll conclude our weekly tap in for this week. Appreciate those who tapped in with us, man. If you guys can hit the subscribe button, let somebody know. Yeah, man, we certainly would appreciate it. We'll be back next week with another episode. Tapping out.